The rain-soaked streets of Seattle gleamed under the streetlights, but my heart was a storm no umbrella could shield. I was 17, shivering in the back of a police cruiser, when Elias Carter pulled me from the wreckage of my old life. My foster brother, with his quiet strength and crooked smile, became my anchor, but anchors can drag you under, too. I'm Lena Torres, and my story starts in a group home in Tacoma, where I learned to keep my head down and my fists ready. I was a scrawny kid, all elbows and defiance, with no one to call family after my parents' car accident. The system tossed me around like a bad penny until Elias, a lanky 19-year-old with eyes that saw too much, showed up. He was the Carters' only foster kid then, living with Ruth and Daniel, a couple who radiated warmth but couldn't quite fill the void left by my parents. Elias, though, he got it. He'd lost his mom young, too, and carried that weight in the way he moved, like he was always bracing for the next hit. "Stick with me, Lena," he'd said that first night, tossing me a spare blanket in the Carters' cozy, cluttered living room. "I've got your back." And he did. When bullies at school targeted me for my thrift store clothes, Elias was there, his sharp words cutting deeper than any punch. When I got caught sneaking out to a party, he took the fall, claiming it was his idea. He was my shield, my confidant, my brother in every way but blood. By the time I turned 22, we were still thick as thieves, sharing a cramped apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill. I was working as a barista, saving for community college, while Elias hustled as a freelance graphic designer. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Then I met Zara Khan, and everything changed. Zara was fire where I was embers. She was 24, with short black hair that framed her sharp cheekbones and eyes that could pin you like a butterfly. She worked at a rival coffee shop across the street, owned by the Thompsons, who'd been feuding with my boss, Marla, over customers for years. The rivalry was petty but fierce. Think stolen Yelp reviews and sabotaged pastry deliveries. I didn't care about the drama until Zara walked into Marla's shop one rainy afternoon, all swagger and charm, and ordered a latte like she owned the place. "You're Lena, right?" she said, leaning on the counter, her voice low and teasing. "Heard you make the best pour-over in town." I fumbled the coffee filter, my cheeks burning. "Who told you that?" "Word travels." She smirked, and I was done for. We started meeting in secret, stealing moments in dive bars and quiet parks. Zara was bold, unapologetic, and openly queer, something I was still figuring out about myself. I'd always known I liked women, but saying it out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. With Zara, I wanted to jump. Our first kiss was under a cherry blossom tree in Volunteer Park, her lips soft and sure, the world fading to nothing but her. I didn't tell Elias, not because I was ashamed, but because I wasn't ready to share her, or us, with anyone. Elias noticed something was off, though. He always did. "You're sneaking around like you're in a spy movie," he said one night, tossing a dish towel at me as I helped with dinner. "What's the deal, Lena?" "Nothing." I lied, chopping carrots with too much force. "Just busy." He raised an eyebrow but didn't push. That was Elias, always there, never crowding. But I saw the flicker of hurt in his eyes, and it gnawed at me. We didn't keep secrets. Not until now. The truth came out a month later, at Marla's annual summer block party. The street was alive with music, food trucks, and neighbors dancing under string lights. Zara showed up, uninvited, in a leather jacket that made my knees weak. She pulled me into a dance, her hands on my waist, and I didn't care who saw. Not until I caught Elias staring from across the crowd, his face unreadable. "Lena, you're with her?" he said later, cornering me by the dumpster behind Marla's shop. His voice was tight, like he was holding something back. "Yeah," I said, crossing my arms. "Zara's amazing. What's your problem?" "She's a Thompson," he snapped. Her family's been screwing over Marla for years. You know that. This isn't about coffee shops, Elias. It's about me. Why can't you be happy for me? He looked away, jaw clenched. It's not that simple. Then explain it. I pressed, my voice rising. You've been weird for weeks. What's going on? He didn't answer. Instead, he walked away, leaving me with a sinking feeling I couldn't name. That night, I lay awake, replaying every moment we'd shared since I was 17. Elias had always been my protector, but now I wondered if I'd missed something deeper. Something he wasn't saying. The next morning, Zara texted me to meet her at Pike Place Market. I found her by the fish-throwing stand, her smile brighter than the sun glinting off the sound. You okay? She asked, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Yeah, I said, but my voice wavered. Just family stuff. She nodded, not pushing, and handed me a paper cup of chai. Tell me when you're ready. I wanted to tell her everything, about Elias, about the guilt twisting in my chest, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I leaned into her, letting her warmth anchor me. For the first time, I wondered if I could build a life without Elias at the center. And that scared me more than anything. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. Zara and I grew closer, our dates a mix of stolen kisses and whispered dreams. She told me about her childhood in Portland, raised by her single mom, Aisha, who ran the Thompson coffee shop with an iron fist. Zara was proud of her mom, but tired of the family feud. It's just coffee, she'd say, rolling her eyes. Why can't they let it go? Meanwhile, Elias was pulling away. He'd stay late at his desk, sketching logos with a focus that felt like avoidance. Our apartment, once filled with laughter and late-night talks, was now a minefield of silences. I tried to bridge the gap, leaving notes on his laptop or cooking his favorite chili, but he'd just smile thinly and retreat. It hurt, like losing him piece by piece. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I found him on the fire escape, staring at the city lights, a beer in his hand. Elias, talk to me, I said, sitting beside him. You're acting like I betrayed you. He took a long sip, his eyes distant. It's not about you and Zara. Not really. Then what? I pressed, my voice cracking. You've been my rock for 5 years. Don't shut me out now. He set the bottle down, his hands trembling. Lena, I'm not who you think I am. What does that mean? He looked at me, his eyes raw with something I'd never seen before. I like men, he said, the words tumbling out like they'd been trapped too long. I've known for years, but I couldn't say it. Not to Ruth and Daniel, not to you, not to anyone. The air left my lungs. I stared at him, my brother, my protector, and saw the weight he'd been carrying alone. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Because I was scared, he said, his voice breaking. Scared you'd look at me differently. Scared I'd lose you. You'll never lose me, I said, grabbing his hand. Elias, you're my family. He pulled away, standing abruptly. It's not just that. There's something else. Before I could ask, he climbed back inside, leaving me alone on the fire escape. My mind spun. Elias was gay. It didn't change how I saw him, but it explained the walls he'd built, the way he'd flinched when I'd talked about Zara. Was he jealous? Hurt? Or was it something deeper? The next day, I confronted him in our kitchen. You said there's something else. What is it? He hesitated, then sighed. It's about Zara's family. Her mom, Aisha, she knows something about me. Something I did a long time ago. What did you do? I asked, my stomach twisting. He shook his head. I can't, Lena. Not yet. Frustration boiled over. You can't drop that and walk away. If it's about Zara, I deserve to know. It's not about her, he snapped. It's about me. And I need time. I wanted to push, but the pain in his eyes stopped me. Instead, I nodded, and he left for a client meeting. Alone, I called Zara, needing her voice to steady me. She met me at a diner, her presence like a lifeline. Over greasy fries, I told her about Elias's confession, not the vague secret, but his truth about liking men. That's huge, she said, squeezing my hand. He's lucky to have you. I don't know if he feels that way, I admitted. He's so distant. Give him time, she said. Coming out is heavy. He's probably scared of losing you. Her words echoed mine, but they didn't ease the ache. I loved Zara, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Elias's secret was a storm waiting to break. And I was right. A week later, Marla called me into her office, her face grim. Lena, we've got a problem. Someone's been spreading rumors that my shop's coffee is tainted. Health code violations, fake customer complaints, the works. Who would do that? I asked, though I already suspected. Thompson's crew, she said, slamming a fist on her desk. And I hear you're cozy with Aisha's daughter. My blood ran cold. Zara wouldn't do this. Maybe not, Marla said. But her mom would. And if you're with her, you're either with us or against us. I left her office shaking, caught between loyalty to Marla, who'd given me a job when I had nothing, and Zara, who'd given me a reason to hope. That night, I confronted Zara at her apartment, a tiny studio filled with art and incense. Did your mom start those rumors? I demanded. Zara's eyes widened. No way. She's ruthless, but she's not that low. Then who? I pressed. Because Marla's ready to go to war. I don't know, Zara said, her voice steady but her hands fidgeting. But I'll find out. I wanted to believe her, but doubt crept in. And in the back of my mind, Elias's words echoed. Aisha knows something about me. What was he hiding? And why did it feel like the ground was crumbling beneath us? The next month was a blur of tension and half-truths. Marla's shop was hit with anonymous complaints, and the Thompson shop wasn't faring much better. Someone had vandalized their delivery van with spray paint. The feud was spiraling, and I was caught in the middle, torn between Zara and the family I'd built with Elias and Marla. Elias was barely home, taking on extra freelance work and avoiding my questions. When I did catch him, he was guarded, his eyes shadowed with guilt. I tried to focus on Zara, on the way she made me laugh even when everything felt heavy, but the secrets between us all were like cracks in a dam. One evening, Zara invited me to her mom's shop after hours. I hesitated, knowing Marla would see it as betrayal, but I needed answers. The shop was quiet, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans. Aisha Thompson stood behind the counter, her presence commanding despite her petite frame. She was in her 50s, with Zara's sharp eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Lena, she said, pouring me a coffee I didn't ask for. Zara tells me you're family now. I glanced at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. I care about her, I said carefully. But I need to know what's going on. The rumors, the vandalism, who's behind it? Aisha's smile faded. You think it's me? I don't know, I said honestly. But someone's stirring trouble, and it's hurting everyone. She studied me, then sighed. I don't play dirty, Lena, but I know who might. Before she could elaborate, the door burst open, and Elias stormed in. His face was flushed, his hands clenched. Lena, what are you doing here? Getting answers, I shot back. Something you're not giving me. His gaze flicked to Aisha, and I saw something pass between them. Fear, recognition, something I couldn't place. You need to leave, he said to me, his voice low. Not until you tell me what's going on, I said, standing my ground. Aisha stepped forward. Elias, she deserves to know. You can't keep running from it. He froze, his breathing uneven. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, It was me. The room spun. What was you? I asked, dread pooling in my chest. The rumors, he said, not meeting my eyes. The complaints about Marla's shop. I started them. I stared at him, my brother, my protector, and felt the world tilt. Why? He ran a hand through his hair, his voice raw. Because I was jealous, okay? Not just of Zara, but of you. You were moving on, building a life, and I was stuck, hiding who I am. And Aisha, she caught me slipping a fake complaint to the health department. She didn't turn me in, but she's been holding it over me. I turned to Aisha, my voice shaking. You blackmailed him? Not blackmail, she said calmly. Insurance. I told him to stop, or I'd tell Marla. Zara stepped between us, her face pale. Mom, you knew about this and didn't tell me. I was protecting you, Aisha said. This feud's bigger than us. I didn't want you caught in it. I felt sick. Elias, the one who'd always protected me, had betrayed Marla. And Aisha, Zara's mom, had used it to keep him in line. I looked at Zara, searching for an anchor, but she was as shaken as I was. Elias, I said, my voice breaking. How could you? I didn't mean for it to go this far, he said, tears in his eyes. I wanted to feel like I mattered again. I walked out, Zara calling after me, but I couldn't stop. The rain hit my face, mixing with tears. I hadn't realized I was crying. Elias had been my family, my home, but now I didn't know who he was. And Zara, could I trust her, knowing her mom had kept such a secret? I wandered the city for hours, ending up at Volunteer Park, where Zara and I had shared our first kiss. I sat on the bench, the cherry blossoms long gone, and tried to make sense of it all. Elias's jealousy, his fear, his confession. It was a mess, but it was human. And I loved him, even now. When Zara found me, the sky was bruising purple. She sat beside me, silent for a long time. I didn't know, she said finally. About my mom or Elias. I'm so sorry, Lena. I nodded, too tired to speak. She took my hand, and we sat there, the weight of our family's mistakes pressing down but not breaking us. We'll figure this out, she said. Together. I wanted to believe her, but the path ahead felt impossible. Elias was still out there, carrying his guilt, and I had to decide if I could forgive him, or if I even wanted to try. The next morning, I found Elias packing a bag in our apartment. His movements were frantic, like he was running from something bigger than himself. Where are you going? I asked, my voice hoarse from crying. Away, he said, not looking up. I messed up, Lena. I can't stay here and face Marla. Or you. You don't get to run, I said, grabbing his arm. Not from me. He stopped, his shoulders slumping. I hurt you. I hurt Marla. I don't know how to fix it. Then start by staying, I said. Tell me everything. He sank onto the couch, and the story spilled out. Years ago, before I came into his life, Elias had been reckless, angry, lashing out at the world. He'd gotten involved with a rough crowd, including a guy he'd loved but never admitted to. When things went south, he'd done things he wasn't proud of, small thefts, vandalism, including a stunt at Aisha's shop that she'd never forgotten. She'd recognized him when the feud with Marla heated up and used his past to keep him quiet. I thought I could bury it, he said, his voice hollow. But when I saw you with Zara, happy, free, I couldn't handle it. I was so scared of losing you, and I lashed out the only way I knew how. I sat beside him, my anger warring with love. You should have told me. About all of it. I know, he said, but I was ashamed. Of who I was, of what I'd done. I took a deep breath. Elias, I don't care who you love. I care that you lied. That you hurt people. But you're still my brother. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. Can you forgive me? I don't know, I said honestly. But I want to try. The next week was hard. I told Marla the truth, expecting her to fire me on the spot. Instead, she listened, her face softening. We all screw up, Lena, she said. Elias too. But he's got to make this right. Elias did. He went to Marla, confessed everything, and offered to work for free until the shop recovered. He also faced Aisha, apologizing for his part in the feud's escalation. To my surprise, Aisha accepted, admitting she'd let the rivalry go too far. The two shops called a truce, focusing on community events to rebuild trust. Zara and I weathered the storm, 2. Her mom's secrecy had shaken us, but Zara was determined to be honest with me and herself. We spent late nights talking, rebuilding what we'd almost lost. One evening, under the same cherry blossom tree, she kissed me and said, "I'm all in, Lena. No matter what." Elias started opening up, too. He joined a local LGBTQ group, meeting people who helped him embrace his truth. One night, he brought a guy home, a quiet artist named Theo, with kind eyes and a laugh that filled the room. Seeing Elias smile, really smile, for the first time in years was like sunlight after a storm. By spring, things weren't perfect, but they were better. Elias and I were finding our way back to each other, not as protector and protected, but as equals. Zara and I were planning a trip to Portland, a chance to start fresh away from the city's chaos. And the coffee shops? They were thriving, hosting joint open mic nights that drew crowds from all over Seattle. Sitting on our fire escape one evening, Elias handed me a beer, his smile soft but real. "I'm proud of you, Lena," he said, "for being you, for not giving up on me." I clinked my bottle against his. Family doesn't give up. The city sparkled below us, and for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Love, in all its messy, beautiful forms, had carried us through. And as the stars came out, I knew we'd keep fighting. For truth, for each other, for a future where no one had to hide.